What if your life could leave a legacy? What if your message became a mandate? What if your book inspired the world?
The mastermind was very informative, I would say, and I was really inspired with every single session that we got. And Inspired literally lives up to the name Inspired.
You know, I saw Darren's face and his smile and just his passion, and I was like, I want to work with this person.
I wasn't even sure that what I was writing was good material because it's the first time I started writing. So I needed an opinion, and I thought, no, let me get Darren in and see. He's helping people with so many books. Maybe he can help me too. So I sent him half of my script and I booked him for an hour, and when I spoke to him, he just gave me inspiration that I finished the half of the other book in a month's time.
Everybody thinks about writing and everybody has a story in their mind, but nobody ever commits it to paper until you get the right help. And I think it was a godsend and it was timely, and the experience was worthwhile. It was worth every effort and every sacrifice we made for it.
My advice to you is keep on keeping on. It's never too late.
He allows you to have wings, and he will, if need be, clip it and correct, but the encouragement is continual.
And even the one-on-one, which is such a personal thing, just a conversation, figuring out what you want to do for your book and actually bringing that dream alive, that was the best part for me. And even myself, I'm in New York, Darren's in South Africa, but this has a reach to the world.
Hey there, I'm Darren August. I'm a best-selling author, coach, and publisher. And at Inspired Publishing, we understand just how overwhelming writing and publishing your first book can be. And so why not reach out to us? We'd love to hold your hand, guide you through the process, and help make your book dream a reality. Hello everybody, my name is Darren August, and I have the privilege of coming to you from Johannesburg, South Africa. I am a best-selling author, a coach, a full-time entrepreneur, and I'm also a publisher. What an amazing time to be alive, and what a privilege to be able to connect with people all around the world on a platform like this. I really don't take it lightly every time I have an opportunity to share some information. And I'm so excited about what I'm going to share with you today, because I've literally seen this information change people's lives. And so as I get into it, I'm going to be talking about my 6-figure book blueprint. And if you are not an author yet, or you haven't written your first book yet, I'm trusting that this information is going to inspire you to take action and become an author. So many people speak about it, dream about it, think about it for the longest time, but so few people take action and become a published author. It's one of the best things you can do, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as a business owner. And so I'm hoping that the information I'm about to share with you today will change your life as well. I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to take you through my presentation that I've prepared. So if you would just give me a moment. There we go. All right, so let's get into my 6-figure book blueprint. So the picture up on the screen is what it normally looks like when I'm hosting a live event. We host these throughout the year. I do a self-publishing masterclass. And so what I'm going to share with you now would normally be presented live at an event over 3 to 4 hours, but I've been tasked with shortening this into a 30-minute presentation. And so let's take it away. I said earlier on that your life is about to change, and I really do believe it. I've seen how people have gone from zero to hero by writing, publishing, and getting their book done. And so my goal, my single most important goal today, is to inspire you to action, especially if you haven't yet started with your own book. I've prepared a special gift, and so the details will be in the link below, as well as at the end of the presentation, I'll share a little bit more details of how you can get this information. But I've prepared a very comprehensive book roadmap. It's a simple document, a one-pager, that outlines the process from blank page to published author, especially because I understand that the process can be so overwhelming. And so I've simplified it, and it's my absolute pleasure to share this information with you. It's a free one-pager. I'd love for you to use it as a resource, and it will guide you through the process from blank page to published author. It literally shows you after this step, this is the next step, then do this, then do this. And so I hope that helps you and serves you well. As I mentioned, my name is Darren August, and I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. I am the author of 3 books. I'll tell you about that in a moment. I'm a best-selling author, a full-time speaker and coach. And together with my wife, Arlene, we are the founders of Inspired Publishing. And we started Inspired 5 years ago in 2016, and our goal was to help 3 authors every year to write and publish their books and just share their stories. And at the end of the first year, we had 12 authors in our stable. To date, we've published over 85 titles. I don't know if you can see, but the shelf over there behind me, all of those books on that shelf literally have been published by Inspired Publishing. They have our logo on there. We are working with authors from all around the world, and it's been an absolute blessing to be able to see people's dreams come true, because as I mentioned, so many people have the dream of writing and publishing a book but just don't get it done. It wasn't always this way for me, and so I'd like to share with you just a little bit about how it all started for me. Arlene and I got married in 2013, and at the time I was already in business as a full-time business owner, and I was running a consulting company, but my business was not doing very well. We got married, we had a beautiful wedding, we had a great wedding, and about 6 months into our marriage at the beginning of 2014, we were dead broke. We had no money. I often say that we were so broke we couldn't even make love. We would literally, I remember we would lay in bed some nights and just hold hands and cry. And there was one particular night where we had no idea how she would get to work the next day. Luckily, I was working from home and I didn't need to travel, but we had no fuel in our car and Arlene couldn't get to work the next day. I was so embarrassed and I felt so defeated. I don't know if you've ever felt so low, but I didn't want her to see me cry. And so I got out of bed and I went to the bathroom. And as I started rolling off a piece of tissue paper to wipe my tears, a little voice in my head said, "You can't afford to cry into this toilet paper right now, because it's going to run out tomorrow." And I had to grab a face cloth and cry into a face cloth because I couldn't afford to waste toilet paper. I'll never forget how defeated I felt. And so at the beginning of, shortly after that, I had a discussion with Arlene and I said, if things don't change in 3 months, I'm going to go back into the corporate world and I'll find a job, because I can't continue going the way we are right now. And about 3 months later, there was an incident that happened at a school in the city that I live, and I attended a conference. And while I was sitting in this conference, it was a conference in the education space, at a principal's conference and a teacher's conference. And I sat there and somebody was up on stage doing a presentation about something completely unrelated, and I zoned out and I literally got my entire book idea. I took out a piece of paper and I started scribbling. I got the title, I got the strategy, I got everything. It was literally like a download from heaven. And I went home and I said to my wife, I know that I'm supposed to go and find a job, but I have an idea and I think this could change our lives. And she said, what is it? And I said, I think I should write a book. Can I have 6 months to work on it? And I thank God every day that she said yes. She said I could have 6 months, and our lives have never, ever, ever been the same since then. I dedicated 6 months to working on my book, and literally 6 months later, I launched my book and we've never looked back. Today, books is the currency in our home. When we need something, we calculate how many books we need to sell, and that's how we make it happen. And so it's been an absolutely amazing journey. And so that's my first book, which is a best-selling book. It's called A Teacher Changed My Life, an inspirational book for teachers. And since I launched my book, I was able to initiate a speaking tour where I travel the country, travel the world, speak to people all over the world about just the impact that teachers can make in the classroom every single day. Thereafter, I wrote a children's book series called My Seed of Greatness, one for boys and one for girls. And so those are the 3 books that I've authored. And as I just said a few minutes ago, we have never, ever looked back. It literally was the beginning and the birth of the entire Inspired brand that we have today. All right, but enough about me. This presentation and this message is not about me. It's actually for you. And so I'm here for you if you've been thinking about it for the longest time, dreaming about it, or speaking about writing your book for the longest time. But I'm also here to inspire some of us who may not realize this right now. But there's no guarantee that if you're watching this video today, you will be here by next year this time. And so in 2016, at the launch of our first author's book, there was somebody in the audience, and at the end of it, he came up to me and he said, Darren, I also would like to write a book. And I said, no problem. I gave him my card, I gave him my email address and my number, and I said, connect with me and let's get your book done. He never reached out. And on New Year's Day, 2020, I got a call from our author. Her name is Alice, and she said, Darren, the man you met at my book launch died this morning, and his book was never published. And my heart broke, because here was somebody who lived a great life, who made a great impact, and now his legacy was reduced to a funeral service. And there's nothing left for us to remember him by, because he didn't take action. And so I'm hoping that at the very least, after this presentation, you will take action and take the first step or take the next step to get your book done. Because your life changes because of these two words. Earlier on, I said to you, your life is about to change, and this is the reason why. Simply by being able to introduce yourself as the author of is one of the most amazing things, and I've seen how doors just fling open. I've had to compete with being invited as a guest speaker to events, and simply because I am an author and somebody else isn't, automatically I'm the preferred candidate. And so it's something that is so, so amazing. I don't know why, but there's just such credibility that comes with being an author. It's as if you have all of this knowledge. It's as if you are the expert simply because you've written the book. And so because you're able to introduce yourself as the author of, doors just fling open. You command respect, you command higher fees, and you have credibility that other people around you may not have because you've written the book. So why should you write a book? A book is one of the best ways for you to leave a legacy, as I mentioned before. Years after you have left the earth, your voice is immortalized, and your voice can still be serving your generation and generations to come. It's one of the best ways for you to increase your impact. There's nothing worse than attending an event or hearing a great speaker and then having nothing to refer to afterwards. And so it's really a great tool for you to be able to leave behind, especially if you already function or you're already playing in this space as a speaker or a coach. It's great to have a book that complements what you do so that people can extend that experience with you and relive some of those great moments they had with you in that interaction. It's a great way for you to increase your income. You can do the hard work once and be paid for the rest of your life. As I mentioned, my book is still my most important income generated to date, and my book is almost 7 years old. Right, so it's a great way for you to increase your income and for you to create passive income, because you literally will be able to be selling books while you're asleep. And then it's a great way for you to increase your influence. So I want you to consider writing a book, because it is a forever product. People do not throw books away, especially a printed book, all right? They would rather donate it to a library or an orphanage, but people feel bad to throw books away. And so years after I leave the earth, my voice will still be in this generation in the form of the books that I've written. All right, so what we're going to cover in this next few minutes is my six-figure book blueprint, all right? And I'm going to take you through 3 important pillars, which are package, publish, and profit. So we're going to talk about how to refine or find your book idea and get started. Then we're going to talk about publishing so that you're able to make an informed decision about the publishing journey for your book. And then we're going to talk about profit. And I'm going to show you how to turn your book into a profitable income stream and how to make your first $50,000. All right, are you ready? Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with package. And here I'd like to talk to you about how to find your book idea. So perhaps you've thought about it, but you're thinking, what book could I actually write? And so here's a couple of questions you can answer to help you find a book idea. The first one is, what are you always talking about? Right? Sometimes people might say to you, you sound like a stuck record. Take note of that, because it's a possible great indicator for a good book idea. The next one is, what do people consider you an expert in? You might be the go-to guy or the go-to girl for something specific. Maybe you're always giving financial advice, or you're giving parenting advice, or you're the best cook in the family. Whatever it is, I bet you are the go-to guy for at least one thing that people consider you an expert in. And so there is an opportunity for you to turn that knowledge, turn that skill into something that you could package into a book. The next one is, what are you passionate about? And here I don't mean the average passion that most of us have. I mean more passion. So for instance, when there is an incident in society, there are just some people who lead the conversation. Think about movements like Black Lives Matter, or when there are gender-based violence flare-ups. There are just some people who lead the conversation, who go to social media straight away and start a conversation. And so if you are passionate about a certain topic or a certain theme or something that is really close to your heart, that is something you could possibly turn into a great book idea. And then the last one is, what do you get paid to do? If you already are being paid to do something, chances are you are good at it, and there are people who would pay you for the knowledge, for the skill you have. And so you could simply transfer all of that information into a book, and that could be a product that you could sell and monetize. All right, now I know some people say, yes, Darren, that's great, but I've got all these ideas. I could write a memoir, I could write my life story, I could write a self-help book, I could write a children's book. Where do I start? And so what you need is clarity. And so you will start with the one that you are most passionate about. So think of all the ideas you have, and then which one are you most passionate about? And if you don't know how to find that out, talk to people about all of the ideas you have, and they'll be able to tell you which one of those ideas you shared more passionately. They'll see that your eyes light up when you speak about a certain topic, and that's probably the one you should start with first. Then, which one can I finish the fastest? Because you do not want to be sitting on this for any much more time. All right, you don't want to delay this for any longer. Get started, get going. And so start with a book idea that you know you can finish the fastest. Then the one that is going to make you happy or make you happier or happiest, all right? Because you don't want to get to the end of this project and be like, okay, my book's done, what now? You want to feel a sense of achievement. You want to feel as if you've accomplished something. And so start with a book that is going to make you feel happy. And then this last point is probably the most important one. Start with the idea that is the most marketable, all right? And by that I mean, nobody wants to write a book that nobody wants to read or nobody wants to buy. And so even if you are sharing the most intimate parts of your life journey or your life story or some very important information, your book has to be marketable. Otherwise, you are going to fall into the pool of average authors who sell a maximum of 200 copies of their book in their lifetime, and then we never see or hear about them again. And that's not what I want for you. All right, so make sure that you engineer a great book that is marketable so that it can serve you and that it can achieve the desired outcome that you have for yourself. And then simply get going. So where do you start? Start with an outline. And so an outline is literally a spider diagram where in the middle of a piece of paper, you will draw a circle, write the main theme of your book, and then have all of the possible topics you could talk about around that topic, and then narrow it down until you've got your chapters, and then narrow it down until you've got your talking points, and then just get started. If you spend one day doing a thorough outline, you have done probably half the work already, because your outline becomes your writing guide and will help you get through writer's block, will help you structure your writing. And so on days when you are feeling very inspired and you're out at the beach, you've got all of nature around you, then you're going to write the chapter that needs you to be super creative and needs a lot of imagery. But once you've sat and you haven't written for 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to look at your outline and you're going to be able to kick yourself and say, actually, I don't need to be inspired for this chapter. I can write this chapter because I've got all of the knowledge in my head. So let me be disciplined and write. All right. So your outline or your mind map is going to become your writing guide to help you finish your manuscript. Next up, I want to talk to you about the 3 winning elements of a great book. So you have to understand that a great book doesn't just happen. It's engineered. And so the 3 winning elements of a great book is MT, PV, and AB. I've just abbreviated them, but let me expand on that. So MT stands for Me Too, the Me Too effect, all right? When you open up a book and you feel like you can relate to the content in this book and you feel like, oh my goodness, this author has been through the same thing I've been through. This author is asking the same questions I have. This author has the same struggles I have. Me too, all right? Once you have that element in your book, that is the golden key. It's an absolute winner right away. The second one is PV, which means perceived value. And so when you write a book, you have to write a book with the reader in mind, right? So many of us want to share our personal stories and our personal journeys, but that's not what people want to hear. When somebody picks up a book, when somebody reads a book, they are reading that book with one question in mind: what's in it for me, right? And so the reader has to perceive that this book has been written for them, is going to serve them, and is going to solve a problem for them. And so even if you are sharing your story, there are ways for you to ensure that you are creating that perceived value. Perceived value also talks to what your book looks like, the cover, what the feel of the book, the quality of the book, if they're paying for it. All right. And then the third one, AB, is one that is completely dependent on you and only you, and that means absolute belief. That is the number one ingredient for selling books, all right? Absolute belief. You as the author have to believe in your book, in your message, in your product, because nobody else will be able to do that as much as what you can. There isn't a publisher on the face of the earth who will be able to believe in your book as much as you can. You are the number one seller of that book, all right? Even if you've got the best publisher behind you, it still will be your responsibility to speak about this book, to communicate the message in this book in such a way that people are interested and want to buy your book. And so absolutely important that you show absolute belief in your book. And then you need a great title and a great subtitle, all right? Your book needs to, and a great cover. So let me incorporate all three of those at the same time. Great title, a great subtitle, and a great cover. The job of your cover, your title, and your subtitle is to be able to call somebody from the opposite side of the room to pick up your book and read the back so that they can make a purchase, all right? And so if there's any way you're going to invest, it's in your title, your subtitle, and your cover. That has to be what grips people. We've all heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. That is the biggest load of rubbish. We all judge a book by its cover. It doesn't apply to books, all right? That applies to people. And so I want to quickly talk to you about one of the authors I coached a couple of years ago. I met her in 2017, and she was just about to publish her book. Her story, her name is Bui, and her story was heart-wrenching. She accompanied her daughter in the labor ward when her daughter went into labor, and the doctor who was delivering the baby showed up drunk, and there was a terrible, terrible event in that labor ward of malpractice, where the doctor, he started digging in this young lady's vagina as he was delivering the baby. He pulled the baby out with forceps. She came out scarred. But this woman saw what happened, and she said, I'm not going to leave it here. And so she took on this doctor for 12 years. For 12 years, she fought the justice system. She was in and out of court. She received death threats until eventually, after 12 years, this doctor was found guilty of culpable homicide, and he was sentenced to prison. So she literally made history in our country, South Africa. And when I met her, she was about to publish her book, and she had paid somebody, a publisher, to do her book, and they disappeared with her money. And so this is what her cover was going to look like. Now, this is not the cover that she eventually ended up with, but this is what her book would have looked like. So her book is called Victory and Justice at Last. What a beautiful story, but what a terrible looking book, all right? So on the cover, you can see the young lady at the back. That's her daughter who died. The little girl next to her is the baby that survived. The lady sitting on the chair, that's the author. And the boy next to her is her son, and I don't know why he's in the picture, all right? And so I said to her, I cannot allow you to publish a book that looks like this because it will not achieve anything for you. But if you will allow me to coach you, if you will allow me to work with you, we can make this a winning book. Are you willing to do that? She cried because she felt so insulted. I said, I'm sorry that I have to be honest with you, but this book is not going to do it for you. And I thank God that she said yes. She was willing to be teachable. And so we reworked her cover. We reworked her concept. I worked with her on her messaging. We created a subtitle, and that's how her book turned out. Okay. And I cannot begin to tell you the success she has experienced as an author since she launched her book. She now has partnered with organizations who support her. She now is a speaker on medical negligence. She has had launches at Nurses College. She speaks to doctors and health professionals about medical negligence. She had about 3 appearances on national television, and towards the end of 2019 she had a whole half-hour episode on a program completely dedicated to her story and showcasing medical negligence. And so that is the power of packaging your book properly and packaging your book correctly. And so I want to encourage you to make sure that you get it right when it comes to choosing the right title and crafting the right cover. Let's move on to the second P, which is publish. When you publish your book, you will have to make a very important decision, and that is around the publishing journey for your book. Will you approach a traditional publisher? Will you self-publish? Or will you go through a hybrid publisher? So the traditional publishing model works like this. You will write your manuscript, and then you will Google and try and find a publisher. You will submit your manuscript to them, and they'll say, don't call us, we'll call you. And after reviewing it, you will most likely get a letter saying, we regret to inform you that we're not interested in your manuscript. Or they'll say, oh my goodness, you're the next big thing. We'd love to offer you a publishing deal. And if you get that, that's great, that's amazing, because this publisher now becomes responsible for making sure this book is a success. And so they will put all of the money necessary behind it to get this book out there. They will take care of everything. You will be offered an advance, so you will get an advance payment, and you will then earn royalties on the sales of all of your books. All right. Sometimes you would be signing over the complete rights, and so the publisher now becomes the owner of the rights to that book. But if you're famous and if you're going to be selling millions of copies, that's a great deal. But that doesn't happen for everybody. That is why on the other side of the scale, we have self-publishing, where you are able to do all of this yourself. Self-publishing levels the playing field and allows every person to tell their story, write their book, become an author. All right. But as the name suggests, you are going to be doing it all yourself. All right. And so you are going to write your book. Then you're going to find an editor. Then you're going to find a designer to design your cover. Then you are going to publish your book yourself, and you're going to find a printer, and then you're going to market it, and you're going to sell it out of the trunk of your car, and you're going to do whatever is necessary to make that book a success. And you're going to publish it online on Amazon, and you're going to have to drive traffic to the Amazon site to buy your book so that you can be successful, but you get to keep all of the profits. And so self-publishing right now allows more than, I think something like 90% of royalties that are paid out in the world is actually paid to self-published authors. And so it allows you to get your book out there in a matter of days, all right? Whereas a traditional publisher would put you on a publishing schedule and say that we will publish your book for Christmas next year. So self-publishing gives you complete control of the entire process. And then there is another model called hybrid publishing, where you can find a publishing house or a publishing company that could offer you all of the services of a traditional publisher, but you are in essence self-publishing. And so they would take care of everything for you, from editing to design to layout, possibly marketing, but you would still remain the owner of the work. And once they've produced your book, you are free to do with it what you like. All right. The hybrid model, though, is one where you will pay the publisher for their services. So you will pay them for doing everything related to your book. Their job is to produce your book at a fee. All right. So Inspired Publishing, that is my company. We serve as a hybrid publisher. And as I mentioned earlier on, all of those books at the back there, we've published. All right. And one of the great things is you are able to publish in a different country for a fraction of what it would cost. I've worked with some authors overseas, and if you were to publish in the United States, you would be paying starting anything from about $5,000 up, and we are able to do a complete done-for-you service at a fraction of that price. But you can chat to me about that at a later stage. Let's go to the third P in the pillar, and that is profit. So when it comes to profit and turning your book into an income stream, don't just plan to write, plan to sell. So many authors make the mistake of writing a book, getting it done, and then it's like, all right, so what now? So you have to start with the end in mind, and you have to be able to engineer a book that is going to serve you and get you the results you desire. So you need to make sure, as I mentioned earlier on, that this book is marketable and that you can actually sell it. All right, and so very important is strategy. What differentiates the average author from a successful author is strategy. And so you have to have a strategy of how you are going to move those units and move those books. All right. Then very important to note is that the money isn't only in your book, it's around your book. All right, you will be able to make so much more money around your book instead of just selling books. So don't just think about having to sell books. Think about what else you can do around your book, and you'll see that's point number 4. Have a what else mentality. Spend some time thinking about your book and asking yourself questions like, could I possibly turn my book into a stage play? Yes. Or a movie? Yes. Could I create a coaching program? Oh, yes. What else can I do? Oh, can I create a children's book version of the same book? Oh, absolutely. So by asking and dreaming about where your book can go, you are able to create all of those different streams of income from your book. So you need to think movement. What movement can I create around my book? So shortly after I wrote my first book, which is called A Teacher Changed My Life, I initiated the Inspirational Teacher Tour, which is a movement that encourages society to elevate the teaching profession. So if you Google me, you will find a TED Talk I did around my book. You will find that I do the speaking tour. So everything I did for a couple of years was related to that book. So I started a movement to encourage everybody else to join in the message that I'm trying to spread through my book. So I want to demonstrate for you quickly just the power of understanding these different streams of income from one book, right? Now, this is not, I'm not sharing this to brag. I'm sharing this because I want to show you what's possible by taking action and by having a great strategy. And so I recorded everything I did in my first year as a published author. I launched my book at the end of 2014. And so 2015 was the first year that I was out in the market for a full year, and I recorded everything I did. All right. And so in that year, I had 109 speaking engagements. All right. Those were paid speaking engagements because I have not spoken for free since I launched my book. Then I had 101 sessions of the Inspirational Teacher Tour. That is my speaking tour. 101 of those appearances in that year. All right. Then over 4,000 teachers and principals were impacted by my work that year. Then there were 9 countrywide conferences where I was the keynote speaker. All right. That means I'm the main speaker on stage. I'm getting paid the highest fee for my 1-hour talk. All right. So I had 9 of those engagements. I had 5 television appearances, 16 radio interviews. I was the MC or the host at the National Teaching Awards, which is a televised event in South Africa. I was the MC. I appeared in 8 newspaper and magazine articles. I had 16 corporate training, speaking or consulting interventions where I would go into a corporate company, work with their staff, and I was billing anything from per person to per hour to per day, depending on the amount of people and depending on the type of program I was presenting. Then over 5,000 learners were impacted by my work. That was learners in schools. That year, approximately 350 copies of my book were distributed for Mandela Day, which is an initiative in South Africa, where I got corporates to purchase my book and distribute it to teachers in schools. All right. And personally, I sold just over 3,000 books in that first year of my book. So you can see that just by having all that strategy and by doing all of those things, straight away within the first year of me being a published author, I hit 6 figures. All right. And in South Africa, that is over R1 million worth of revenue generated just from one book. Now, I'm not trying to sell you a pipe dream, and I'm not promising that it's going to happen for everybody, but I believe it can if you take action and if you're serious about it. And so I want to show you how you can create just 5 streams of income from your one book. And I want to show you the road to $50,000. All right. Now, in my program where I work with authors, I literally show them up to 20 streams of income from one book. All right. It is possible, but we've only got time for me to cover 5. And so let's go. The first one will be book sales. So you will sell your book. All right. The next one will be talks, because you're an author. Naturally, people would invite you to come and speak. And so you'll be able to start charging a fee for talks. Then you can have workshops or seminars. All right. That is where you could have a bigger group of people at an event. You could have this live, or you could have it online, and you could charge a fee for this workshop. And that could be anything from a 1-hour workshop to a 2-day program. All right. You can also offer one-on-one coaching services, either related to the content of your book or something else. All right. And so people would pay you for an hour of your time, and you could charge a fee And if you want to structure your program in a different way, you could do that. And then the last one is a coaching program where you could have a smaller group of people going deeper with you at a higher fee, or you could have people going deeper with you one-on-one at a higher fee. All right. And all of these are ways for you to generate more income from just that one book. All right. So let's show you how we turn this into money. All right. And so let's assume that your book retails at $25, because that's more or less what an average book would sell for. If you sell 100 books at $25, that's your first $2,500. Then if you can secure 4 talks, all right, just 4 talks at $2,500, that is $10,000. Now that is entry level for a speaker. You could possibly charge more than that. You could get 25 people at a workshop at $500, and that is $12,500 that you'd be able to make. Then if you were able to secure just 10 clients who would be prepared to pay you for one-on-one coaching at $1,500, that's $15,000 in the bank. And then if you had a coaching program where you got 10 people onto this program at $1,000, and all of these figures, guys, are entry-level figures, all right? $1,000 for 10 clients, that's an additional $10,000. And there you've got your first $50,000, all right? Possible, absolutely possible. I know of people who do this every single month, all right? 4 talks in a month is absolutely possible. That's 1 a week, all right? How will you sell your first 100 books? I'll show you that at the end, all right? But it's absolutely possible. So this is so achievable. And then all you need to do is repeat that, do it twice, and you've made your first 6 figures from just 1 book. Do you believe it's possible? I'm hoping you're saying yes, all right? I really hope you're saying that it's possible. I want you to believe that you can do it. And if you believe that it's possible, if you see that it's realistic and achievable, then my next question is, when's your launch date? What's your launch date? What's holding you back? How much longer will you delay? How much longer will you put it off for? How much longer will you keep talking about it, dreaming about it, and not taking action? Start. Just start. The first step is the hardest. But once you get going, it becomes easier. All right, and so set the date, make yourself accountable, start telling some people about your book that you will be writing, and that's going to get you to get it out there. So if you're battling, there's nothing like having a coach in your corner. And so if you find that you need accountability, reach out to a coach. Find somebody who could coach you along this journey. Find somebody who can hold your hand through this process. But don't give up on this dream of becoming an author. It is absolutely worthwhile. It will skyrocket your business once you've got a book. And at the very least, you could offer your book as a lead magnet, all right? You could create a 10-page ebook and have it as a lead magnet on your funnel, all right? And so let's connect. I'd love for you to connect with me on Instagram if you would like to consider me working with you a little bit more on your book. But the link in my bio, there's a link for you to download your free book roadmap, right? So remember earlier on, I said to you that I would give you this free resource. So I've outlined the entire journey from blank page to published author in a book roadmap, and that is absolutely free to you simply for attending this presentation. And so connect with me on Instagram. There's a link in my bio, and you'll be able to download it. And then thereafter, you'll be able to check out my signature program, which is the 6-Figure Book Blueprint, where I go into much more detail about all of the topics that I've touched on today. In fact, it's 7 modules with a couple of book frameworks as well that will help you how to structure your writing depending on the type of book that you are going to be working on. And then I want to throw in one more resource just because I'm feeling generous. And so earlier on, I asked you, how are you going to sell your first 100 books? And so I'd like to take care of that for you. I've created another great resource. And this is after just years of working with authors and coaching them behind the scenes. I created my 5 top direct selling messages, all right? And so when I'm working with authors as they're getting ready to launch their book, I'll say to them, just send this to all of your contacts, all right? And so I found there's 5 messages that absolutely convert every single time. And so by using these, I'm sharing it with you. So if you send me a DM, so send me a direct message on Instagram, I will send you this template of my 5 top direct book sales messages. You literally can copy, paste, tweak it to have your information, send it out to your contacts, and I can almost guarantee you that you will sell your first 100 books literally on your mobile device, all right? And so those are 5 great messages that convert very highly. And so it's my absolute pleasure to share that with you. I'd love to hear how that serves you as well. And that's it from my side. Before I wrap it up, I'd love to leave you with just a thought. And I developed this thought and this quote at a time where I was at such a low point in my life. And it says, don't ever allow anyone to tell you that you're not good enough. And even if they say it, refuse to believe it, right? You absolutely deserve the success. You absolutely deserve to be a celebrated author. You deserve to have people reading your message and hearing your story and following you and believing what it is that you want to share with them. You deserve your place in the sun. You deserve to have your voice heard in the world. And so you need to believe that you're worthy. You need to believe that you're worth it. And you need to believe that you've got something to offer to this world. I wish you great success. I wish you better success than what I've experienced. I hope that the information that I've shared with you on this session serves you. I hope that I've inspired you to take action, to take the first step or take the next step in the direction of your dream of becoming an author. And I would love to connect with you and hear about how your book is changing the world. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening to me. I've had an absolute blast sharing this time with you and sharing this information with you. And so from my side, I want to wish you all of the success. I want to wish you well, and I'm hoping that our paths will cross soon. Thank you so much, and all of the best.
What if your life could leave a legacy? What if your message became a mandate? What if your book inspired the world?
The mastermind was very informative, I would say, and I was really inspired with every single session that we got. And Inspired literally lives up to the name Inspired.
You know, I saw Darren's face and his smile and just his passion, you know, and I was like, I want to work with this person.
I wasn't even sure that what I was writing was good material, because it's the first time I started writing. So I needed an opinion, and I thought, no, let me get Darren in and see. He's helping people with so many books. Maybe he can help me too. So I sent him half of my script, and I booked him for an hour. And when I spoke to him, he just gave me inspiration that I finished the half of the other book in a month's time.
Everybody thinks about writing, and everybody has a story in their mind, but nobody ever commits it to paper until you get the right help. And I think it was a godsend, and it was timely, and the experience was worthwhile. It was worth every effort and every sacrifice we made for it.
My advice to you is keep on keeping on. You know, it's never too late.
He allows you to have wings, and he will, if need be, clip it and correct, but the encouragement is continual.
And even the one-on-one, which is such a personal thing, just a conversation, figuring out what you want to do for your book and actually bringing that dream alive. That was the best part for me. And even myself, I'm in New York, Darren's in South Africa, but this has a reach to the world.
Hey there, I'm Darren August. I'm a best-selling author, coach, and publisher. And at Inspired Publishing, we understand just how overwhelming writing and publishing your first book can be. And so why not reach out to us? We'd love to hold your hand, guide you through the process, and help make your book dream a reality.
Contact us now, and let's get your book to the world.